the one in spirit had been passed for about 13 years.
Wow.
But when he passed, his parents did not want to acknowledge his partner.
That's really hard for people that are coming out, especially, and that there's that whole thing. And I remember that would have been so powerful for that
Come here
person.
for 1 minute. Sorry, this is another author.
It's another author.
Yeah,
an author coming on board.
Here is Narelle. Come and just have
Hi,
a quick
Narelle. How are you?
She's got to get ready to be on stage, so I don't want to hold you up.
What time are you on stage?
Oh, beautiful.
Narelle, you're just on a live feed at the moment.
Yeah.
Welcome. Come on board.
Hello, I just arrived from the airport.
Oh, good on you. Narelle's got an amazing story, and many of you that were at the Writers' Conference would have heard Narelle stand up and chat. This is her first MBS. She's going to be amazing. She had everyone in tears sharing her amazing journey.
What did you talk about, Narelle?
Infertility and grief and loss.
Oh, wow. Jeez, don't I feel like a jerk now?
I think you're allowed to be sad when you lose a baby.
Yeah, wow.
It
really, because I've got a good friend of mine, Sophie Smith, and she runs a charity called Running for Premature Babies. And one of the things that she was really upset, she lost triplets premature, and it was like a taboo subject to say, I've had somebody pass away. Do you know what I mean? Especially a child. So tell us about your book and what inspired you to do it and blah, blah, blah.
We're giving it practice here.
Yeah, go. This is by the way, Rachel says hi.
Yeah.
So it inspired to write. I was inspired to write the book because I know there are so many women going through this in the world. The stats are like 1 in 4 women go through pregnancy and infant loss, and it's taken 11 years after my loss to be ready to share my story. It's very personal and very emotional, but it's time to share it because I think we need to open the topic up and create conversations about it so people don't feel so alone. Yeah. I'm a grief counsellor now, and I see so many people that just kind of suffer in silence because no one really gets it or wants to talk about it.
How amazing you've paved the way to open this up for many. And I think, like you say, it's not something people are always comfortable talking about, even those around somebody that's experienced that, to know what to say. Or a lot of people get a bit like, I don't know, how do I approach this? And Narelle's got a really endearing, great way of speaking publicly about this, which she did for us at the conference. So many that were at the conference have realised this. And what
Let me just zoom in for a second.
is just amazing. Yeah. So her story's amazing, and she's going to inspire many.
Do you want to share a little bit of your story with us, like what you went through, what you've learned, and whatever else transpires after that? Yeah.
So my story started when I met my beautiful husband. I'd been searching for the one, and I found him, but he already had 3 children.
Okay.
And so we couldn't conceive naturally. He'd already had a vasectomy.
Right.
And so we went through routes to try and get that reversed, and that didn't work. So we went down the only track that was available, which was IVF.
Yeah.
Which is something I never wanted to do. I'm such a natural person. I don't wear any chemicals. I'm a vegan, and all those hormones and chemicals. It was a huge roller coaster of ups and downs and grief and loss.
So wait, because the understand is that it's a long process to go through IVF. Not only like trying so many different methods, and then it's going against the grain of who you normally are. And go, okay, I'm going to try this. We'll call it an artificial way of doing it, if we can call it that, or a scientific way of actually conceiving. And going through that's not an easy ordeal. Then you actually fall pregnant. And then what happens?
Fell pregnant after 5 cycles.
Wow.
So it had come at a lot of emotional and financial cost.
Yep.
And strain to our relationship as well. We were pretty financially exhausted and emotionally wrecked by then. Mm-hmm. But then to get pregnant, like, so exciting, all your dreams have come true. You're like, all the pain's worth it. Nothing could possibly go wrong now because I finally got pregnant. They said I would, and here I am.
Yep.
And then just to be, I guess, naive to think that you'll just go full term and you'll have a baby and be like everyone else. Yeah. And nothing prepared us for getting to 23 weeks. Mm-hmm. And then I started getting back pains, and I didn't know, I'd never been pregnant before. I didn't know that they were signs of contractions and early labor.
Wow. Okay.
So I put up with those for a couple of days. I even tried to book a massage with a friend thinking, oh, my back's just sore because my belly's getting bigger.
Yeah.
And ended up at the hospital a couple of days later after a few spots of blood, and my son was born 30 minutes later. Wow. I was already dilated when I got to the hospital and they couldn't stop it. So
Yeah.
I just went through childbirth.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And he was born and he was perfect. He was just tiny and his lungs weren't developed properly. And the hospital, I think they were on the phone. They were a small hospital in a country town and they were trying to get, medical supplies and things to keep him going. But they couldn't get anything. So they just said, when they handed him to us, my husband's like, oh, where's the humidity crib? Like, what are you doing? And they're like, no, just hold him. There's nothing we can do. So
oh, jeez.
we just held him for 45 minutes until he passed away.
Yep. Yep. So you would you say a beautiful 45 minutes?
Yeah.
Yep.
Very much.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was so lovely to actually, some of my dreams came true. I wanted to be pregnant. I wanted to go through childbirth. Crazy enough. Just one of the simple things that everyone takes for granted.
Yeah.
So I got to do all that.
As a female, there's so many things that come up for me here. As a female, to fall pregnant, and it's something that you girls grow up with all your life, because when you're a little girl, you play with little babies, you put them in a pram, and it's almost like for a female, is it almost a given as you're growing up?
That's part of part of Narelle's story that I really love, because it's so relatable. In that way that she shared that, growing up, it's that expectation that you would have children.
Yeah.
And it's just a belief system that many, carry to.
Yep. So to have this, your whole perception on reality, your belief systems were just shattered in at the end of 45 minutes. Yep. I'm going to ask you a question. It's very sensitive, and I don't want to say how do you get over this, because I don't think you should ever go. And as a grief counsellor, grief is a beautiful thing because you love that person. How do you move on with life when you have something like this happen?
Slowly.
Yep.
With support around you and people to talk to if you need to talk.
Yep.
Lots of people don't get it, so lots of people just scatter.
Yep.
I used to think it was because they didn't care, but now I think it's because it's just too painful for them to sort of stand by and watch you in so much pain and not be able to do anything. Society want to fix things, so they're already talking about the next baby. And you're still young.
Don't worry, the next one will be fine. Yeah.
So, slowly. I ended up writing my book as, I guess, my healing process. That was such a cathartic journey for me, and studying to be a counsellor.
Yeah.
I had been a school teacher before that and got to the point where I couldn't look after little people anymore.
Was that a trigger for you?
Yeah.
Instantly, yeah?
Yeah.
Yep.
I ended up going back and facing that fear later on, but at least initially I couldn't walk into a classroom and be an early childhood teacher.
Look, and that's really common. Like you hear this a lot of even males as well, but females, if they lose a child, that they see other children, and it's almost this a jealousy or this rage of like, how dare you have that child like that, and it was like I was robbed sort of thing, which I think is quite normal. You being grief counselor, that would be the cycle in grief where you go through the anger stage, which is, so it would be abnormal not to feel that, correct?
Yeah, definitely. All emotions, nothing's off the table in grief. You feel like you're going crazy. You feel like, a horrible person.
Yeah. But it is true. I mean, even for myself, if I know somebody has lost a child, I wouldn't know how to approach that subject. And I'd be going, oh, I'm really sorry to hear that. And then that would be it. And then you'd almost, and I'd hate to say this, but you try to run away really quick because you think, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. That's got to be the worst feeling in the world.
Yeah. I'm trying to relate to it,
Exactly.
So somebody like myself, how would you approach myself? Say, hey, Tony, I've just lost a child. This is how I want you to speak to me. Or what is the norm? Because people are quite scared to do that, to have that conversation.
Yeah. And the most hurtful things, I guess, before I say the positive things, the most hurtful things are when people try and fix it. Like they jump in there. I had friends say, oh, I'm so blessed. I can have children. I'll be your surrogate. I'll have your next child for you. You don't need it to be about someone else in that moment. You need it to be about you.
Sure. Yeah.
And so you just need them to listen. I think the most important thing that a friend ever said to me was, sometimes you just have to give yourself permission just to feel like shit.
Yeah.
And you just have to actually sit in this. And you can't sit in it 24 hours a day because you drive yourself insane.
Yeah.
You do
But
have
you would have
to
done
try
that,
to
right, at
distract
some point?
yourself. Oh, in the early days.
Yeah,
There's nothing else on your mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but you just need people to be there. And, you know, the most important things that people said to me was, I have no idea what to say, but I'm here. I'm here
Nice.
if you need me.
And that was all you needed to hear in that moment?
Because you don't need them to tell you, oh, there'll be another one, or it's okay, or those kind of things. My mother lost a child, so I understand. You don't need to hear that. It can't be about someone else in that moment.
So it's got to be really on that individual.
Yeah.
And then so would you almost go in with validation at that point? Just go, okay, that must be really painful for you, or I can hear that in your voice that it's, you know, really uncomfortable. What can I do to help you or support you, sort of thing? So it's all just about them, and that's really good advice. Okay, so is that something that you actually share with a lot of people about how to have that conversation?
Yeah, and some people can't. Some people can't have that conversation with you.
Yep.
There are even counsellors and psychologists who can't do grief work because it is so tricky.
Yeah.
So if you can't do it, that's okay. But, you know, you end up intuitively knowing the people that you can talk to about it and the people that it might be safer in the early stages for you just to avoid that person.
Yeah. So with the book that's coming out, what's this book about? So you've already done your biography, is that correct? Like your
book is here.
The book is here today at 12:30.
I know.
I thought that was in your lap.
No, they're all in there. I have a box of them.
Yeah. So you'll be flogging them.
Yeah.
Yep. Well done. And
giving them to the people who need them.
Yeah, I was going to say, there'll be lots of people coming up that will be requesting the book.
Yeah. Sure. And you've got to think, like, so who would be the ideal person to buy your book? Would it be somebody who's just experienced grief, or is it somebody who knows somebody who's going through it?
Either. I think it's really important for not only someone who might have experienced it, or I think it's also important for their friends, family, partners, so they can understand a little bit more about what might be going on for that person. And it's my story, but I think it's very relatable in terms of there are common themes that you go through in the grief process, even though we know that everyone grieves completely differently and there's no right or wrong way to grieve.
And when Narelle's story was shared at the conference, there was not a dry eye in the house, where everyone was just like, and even Rachel's put here, Narelle, I'm now crying again for you, you know. So you can't help but be moved by your story, and your book's amazing. So I'm excited in a way that you're sharing something that, you know, it hits people. And there's so many that will be helped by it. So good on you for doing that.
And congratulations as well. I'd like to echo that as well. But you're coming from the heart. But you're coming from the heart where there was a lot of pain, or there still is a lot of pain there. And to share that is an amazing thing. You know, that's really, that's vulnerability at its highest. So, but in saying that, you know, vulnerability is a beautiful place to come to. Do you feel like you have a lot of strength when you speak about this topic? And
depends on the day. As you said, I don't think we ever get over the grief.
No.
We just walk through it. And so you never know. Some days you're doing quite fine with it. And then other days you can be triggered, especially recently. Like Rivers, my son's birthday is on the day before Mother's Day. So it's just been his 11th birthday. So so I've been a bit raw the last few weeks. You know, you just have to be kind to yourself around those anniversaries and just know that could be a time where you're triggered.
But how does raw turn up for you?
Well, at the writers' conference, I probably turned up in tears, but that's probably a bit of a fear of throwing myself in the deep end and sharing my story and public speaking as well.
But you did it so well. You did it so well.
Well, everybody was crying.
Yeah, everyone was crying, exactly. No, you did. And you were, you know, it came from the heart and you were vulnerable, but, you know, you just sat in that and allowed people to sit in that. And I think that's the thing. And for you, you're massively intuitive. So if you've got an audience that are reacting, you're going to be emotional, like no matter how you, I think, like, because the people that need to be there are going to be there and they're going to resonate. So you being the empath that you are will be like connecting in with all of them. But I think that's beautiful.
And you can't be anything else. I think that's how you connect with people.
Yeah, it's true, because you can't. You hold space. You don't try to be something that you're not. You're not there. Your purpose is not an artificial purpose. It is genuine. It's like, I want to connect with others. If you've gone down this path, just listen to my story. Hopefully you'll take something out. And as you said, there's a common thread that actually, what is the common thread that runs through this process of grief, especially with an infant?
I think society's expectations that you will have children because you're a woman. Just like we have expectations that you marry a man, which is becoming old-fashioned, but
it still bears weight to a degree.
I told at the writers' conference, my mum, when I was 12, was buying like crochet baby clothes for my baby.
Wow.
In the future.
The good old, and that's the other thing too, because mums do this thing where they do a lovely subtle hint, and it's as subtle as a bloody sledgehammer. And like, you know, you're 18 years old, and they go, oh look, I bought some booties down the market for you, like for when you have a child. Not now. No, live your life. You're doing really, really well. And here's a little jacket to go with it. But no, you just live your life. And there's that expectation as well, isn't there? That's got to. Did you girls both have that growing up?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I think it's culturally, that's just how it is, isn't it? I don't think there's many mums that don't have children.
No, my mum always said, you know, when I'm a grandmother, not if I'm a grandmother.
Right. And you're like, shit, no pressure, hey. It's like, quick, I better. And you just look at some guy, you go, you'll do. And it's not so much because I love you, it's because my mum will kick my ass if I don't fall pregnant.
You don't show up.
Yeah, that's right.
No, I definitely didn't settle for the love of my life.
I've got to ask, are you still with your husband?
Yes, which is kind of rare because often when you lose children, you don't stay together. And he's been my rock. We've been through thick and thin.
Well, I'm really happy to hear that.
I'm blessed that I'm still with him. I think if I had have got greedy and kept going with the IVF cycles, we might have broken up because we were just exhausted.
Did you almost go down that path?
The doctors were talking about the next time, the morning after we lost.
Holy moly. Have they gone to your grief counselling sessions at all? Because really, they could learn something right now.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I had to just agree with them to get them to shut up. I did not want to hear it. Like, can we acknowledge what just happened before we try and replace him? He's not replaceable anyway, but if he was, it wouldn't be today.
Yeah, that's right. And as you said, it was your son's 11th birthday the other day, which would have been really difficult to handle.
Make it easier as the years go on.
I mean, like, but do you want it to be easy? I mean, like, your son's your son. At the end of the day, and there was a spirit, there was a soul there was something that you love and you still love. You know, it's one of those things. And when I look at you, I can feel that, you know, that you still got that connection, and that's a beautiful thing. You never want to lose that. And we've spoken about this before, Tonia. For when people pass away, is don't try to get over it. Like, and you connect with people that pass away. It's like that connection's there for a reason.
And they come in for a reason and they never leave. That's what often I find with the young ones that pass. It's like they're there to be around you and support you, even though it's in the spirit world. So they really, it's almost like that's their purpose.
That's
goosebumps.
I know he's with me because before I decided to republish the book, he actually came to me in spirit and said, share our story, Mummy, share our story.
Wow.
And he's been saying that over and over again for like 11 years, and he knew I'm human and I have to do this at my own pace. But he's always wanted me to do that, so he must be happy out there.
Absolutely. Especially being on stage.
And you know, if he bugs you too much, he's going, look, go clean your room. Mum's got stuff to do, all right? Like, you draw that mum card whenever you can. I think it works like that. But, you know, that just brings up another thing that I think that could really serve a purpose, and I don't know if you've done this yet. But wouldn't it be great if you got the opportunity to speak to doctors and clinicians and talk about your story? Say, hey, guys, if you've just had a couple go through loss, can we dial back the conversation a little bit, and can we maybe format it this way? Have you ever thought, are you doing that currently, or is it something?
I will. My book only came out on Tuesday. It's very new. But,
congratulations, by the way. Oh, nice. Congrats. So are you gonna do a chat today? How long does your chat go for?
About 45 minutes, and then I've been granted 15 minutes only to sign your books or to talk to you. Wow. Maybe I can meet you in the coffee area. You need to talk to me.
Yes.
I'll be here all day, but then I'm going home tonight.
Nice.
I'm clients tonight.
Yeah, as you do. Going home. Where's home for you?
Brisbane.
Oh, Brisbane. Okay, so you're doing grief counselling up there.
Yeah.
do you find that you deal with a lot of parents that have gone through grief themselves, or is it just is it generic grief counselling?
Just generic. I'm a generic counsellor in particular, but I do work for some funeral homes.
Yep.
And they give me clients that they refer on to me. Some of the funeral homes out there are doing a beautiful thing, and they give people a free counselling session after they lose their loved one.
Yeah.
So
amazing.
So I do that, but Spirit just sends grief clients to me.
Especially now with your book, you're really setting that intention with this book that you're going to get very, a lot in similar. I feel like it's almost like the book is what is going to be your flagship for people to go, this girl knows. Because you can't beat somebody that's experienced something.
No,
I think
no way in the world.
You can't, to me, I would want to connect if I'd experienced something.
Yep.
I would definitely be like, that person knows what I'm going through, because we can sit here and have empathy, but until we understand that, it's a different concept.
But it's like when you get up and you talk on stage, and we've most probably done gigs where they go, oh, look, we want you to talk about this topic and whatever, and it's all scripted, and you're like, all right, I'll talk about, how to pick up stones out of a creek, but I'm not really passionate about it, but I'm getting paid really well on this gig. I'll do it. But then you get to talk about something that you're passionate about, something that you've lived through, like you've actually got experience through. Like when you talk about connecting with spirit, it's because you know it, you get it, and then you get up on stage. You don't really need to, and this is what I love about working with Tonia. Nothing's ever scripted.
No.
Tonia's favourite thing is, we'll just wing it. Tony, don't worry about it. And I am so... But we need a script.
So I'm teaching him along the way.
It's great.
Because what happens, and even Narelle will know this, is when you've got spirit around, you'll have all the best laid plans in the world, and then they come in and go, no, we're not doing that now. I don't know how many times I've run courses and I'm like, I've got this outline, and they just come in and go, no. And it's when I trust and when I connect with what they're showing me, we get the most profound classes, and people go, that was the best, and I'm like, that was so not planned.
Hey, you just got like your little piece of paper, just your scripts over the shoulder. Got so thinking. Done. And the thing is, it's a nice strategy to fall back onto that, because what we're talking about being authentic.
Yes.
And that's what it feels like your book's about, and especially what your talk's about going to be about now. It's just going to be authentic. And it's like, hi, how are you? This is my story. And hopefully you're there just to inspire and touch others in a way that they can move through their grief process. And how to communicate to others about it, which would be really, really cool. Yeah.
So for anyone that's in Sydney that would love to check out Narelle on stage at 12:30. Narelle's going to be here sharing her story and signing her book. So if you feel really moved this morning, like we all have, please jump on board and support Narelle today for her chat. It's going to be amazing.
Have you got a website or anything people can go to?
Yeah, it's just narellehudson.com.
Okay, cool.
We can share that after this feed. I'll throw it in the comments.
Can they buy books from there? Okay. Do you do Zoom counselling?
Yes.
See
Actually,
that, people?
I only do telehealth at the moment.
Yeah.
So,
how good is it?
Yeah.
It's great.
I can connect with anyone in Australia.
That's so
beautiful. If you're looking for a grief counsellor, I can help you that way too.
Yeah. Definitely do that, because I know there's a few of us out there, especially on this feed here, that have been through this as well. And we've had a few shows on grief, and Narelle sounds like, she's the goods. She's the champion of this. Like when it comes to talking to an expert, this is the lady you should be talking to, especially not only if you've lost children, but any loved ones. We're all there. And then once you've spoken to Narelle for a little while, get onto Tonia, and then she'll connect through spirit. And mate, you got the whole package there. You got no problems.
A lot of when I do readings, I have the toolbox of people to recommend, because a reading is definitely not counselling, but I'm just excited to have Narelle's details now. So that when, because you do have a lot of people come and going through grief, so to have someone like Narelle to recommend is so important.
How would it normally work? Like, would a client go to you first to connect with spirit, or would they go to you just saying, somebody's passed away, and what order would it work?
It wouldn't necessarily, it would be individual. So usually when they come to me, if, we'll connect with spirit, and there's definitely a very powerful healing process that happens. But that's not to say that, a little bit down the track, they need that extra help with it. So I think, as a psychic medium, part of our, when you do training for it, you have to have these contacts. because we don't want to put our hand up and say we're not counsellors, because, you know, we're not. We're basically doing a reading and connecting to spirit. Yes, we can, you know, it creates healing, and definitely with grief it does tend to, you can see the shift in people.
Yeah.
But we certainly would recommend also at the same time to say, look, if you're stuck in it, you know, or you're really struggling, we want to be able to offer people like Narelle to say they're here to make a difference.
Yeah, and it'll be vice versa, wouldn't it? I mean, like, you know, somebody would go to you and there'll be this yearning just to reconnect, right? So is that where you'd pass them on to Tonia, I suppose, in that sense?
I do a bit of casual work as well for Standby Support After Suicide, who are an amazing agency that do bereavement counselling for people after they've lost a loved one to suicide.
That's a really big one. Suicide's a really big one.
And I had a client one time, and I was guided by spirit to put on these earrings in the morning before I went to work, and they were little feathers.
Right.
And she just kind of sat there and she started talking about mediums in the session a little bit, but my co-counsellor didn't really go there with her. And then at the end, my co-counsellor said, "Oh, can I just use your bathroom before we go?" And then she had me to herself, and she's like, "Those earrings, feathers are my sign when my dad's around." And,
No.
yeah,
That's beautiful.
and so that's, you know,
Yeah.
there are clients that love to connect with spirit. I have my own psychic medium that I know in my hometown who's connected with River many times for me.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, nice. And what's that do for you when you get to connect with River?
It's lovely. It gives me kind of traditions and little ceremonies that I can also do as well. Like, she tells me that he loves carrot cake, so every time it's his birthday, I always have carrot cake for him.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, just nice little things that you can be aware of. Reminders
Now,
that he's with you.
Are you sure that's River, or do you reckon you've just got this absolute obsession with carrot cake and you need an excuse to go out and have carrot cake?
Well, for a long time there, I couldn't even have it because I'm vegan, but now I have this amazing vegan bakery and they have carrot cake.
Yeah, okay, just stick it in there, right? Because it's amazing how we can make excuses for what we love to eat. Yes, our guilty pleasures in life is what it is. Oh, that is amazing. That is so. Both you girls working together is a fantastic combination especially with grief, with losing somebody.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, and as you said, suicide's a big thing as well. And suicide's one of those places that we don't really understand enough, and it's one of those things where if we can bring some light to it, you know. I used to be a suicide counsellor as well back in the days for Lifeline and whatnot, and you know the philosophy was quite easy. It was like, look, you'll never understand what that individual was going through, you know, and the most important thing is they don't really understand what they were going through either. You know, and it's just getting around that concept as well. You know, do you find that happens a lot, like just explaining it, or how would you explain suicide to somebody? Because it's a very tough one to lose.
Yeah, because it's a lot like infant and pregnancy loss. It's another taboo topic that we don't want to talk about. Families won't even tell, you know, people how the person died because it is so taboo. And similar to what you were just saying, we talk about it in that way, in terms of, you know, the person's just in so much pain. Often we know they don't even want to die. They just want to escape the pain that they're in. And we never have all the answers, so it can be a really complicated grief because we go through that. What if this happened, and then what if that happened, and what if we had have done this and done that?
Yeah, so the counterfactual thinking, the what ifs come in all the time. I should have done it. I should have heard this. I had a friend the other day who said, a friend of his passed away. He committed suicide. And he goes, he even came to say goodbye to me, but I didn't pick up on the signs. Like he actually said, he goes, I'll see you later. It's been great knowing you, and then walked down. And he said, he's being a dick. That's what he thought. And then 2 days later, took his own life. And then still to this day, talks about being so fresh. And I go, you're not trained to pick up signs. No. You know, and you're
not meant to sometimes.
Yeah, and I remember you said that, Tom. That's a really important thing. Where and I like how you say it but it's a hard one to deal with. Where some people sign up in this lifetime to do something, or their what do you call it? Their exit strategy. Yeah,
there's exit points there. There's options. And I think one of the biggest things that we find with suicide is we just need to remember that it is an illness. Like it is a very real illness. When somebody does that, they're not right. And so I think people look at it and go, they've just jumped on this thing and they've made that decision. But
Yeah.
there's a lot going on that they often don't share.
Yep.
But we need to be mindful of that and say, you know, this is somebody that's mental health is, you know, not great.
How do we get onto suicide? I mean, like, we were doing so well at taking this conversation on an upward spiral, right? And now we've gone suicide and down. My apologies, ladies and gentlemen. Don't you worry.
We're talking about grief.
Yeah.
It is.
But let's talk about the week, the day ahead for you. How's it look, and what are you looking forward to?
Probably having some breakfast. I got up at 4 and I haven't really eaten yet.
Yeah.
So probably
And we've hijacked you.
getting something to eat.
Yeah.
Before I do my big talk and
Yep.
hopefully connect with lots of people here.
Yep.
And then get to see this lovely lady talk later before I fly home. And Scott.
Yep.
Yeah, we can't wait. And that's
Yeah.
one good thing I have to say with Animal Dreaming. We all support each other.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
you're in this together, so there's
Yeah.
not that feeling of you're on your own. I think that's
Yeah.
really powerful.
Yeah.
Very much. Especially for a first-time mind-body speaker presenter.
Oh, do you know what? You watch and years to come, she'll be running this gig.
Yeah.
She'll go, I remember the first time I came, I met this crazy guy called Tonia and a lovely lady called Tonia. And then I hadn't had breakfast. I was up since 4 o'clock in the morning. Drove me crazy. Went up there, gave the best presentation I've ever done in my whole life. People had to take no books home, sold out.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool. But now I've been here for 20 years. It's a no-brainer. Yeah, that's just going to happen.
Absolutely.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I think last time I was here, I saw the beautiful departed Louise Hay speak. So,
Oh, beautiful.
Oh, wow. Isn't she
Yeah.
an amazing speaker?
Yeah.
Or was? Yeah.
hard shoes to fill, but I don't have to be her. I just have to be me.
No, be you.
Yeah,
she's a great example of that. Just be who you are.
Yeah. All right, we're going to wrap up, but
Yeah.
thank you so much for dropping in and having a chat. It was so impromptu, so it's so cool. Yeah.
I thought I was interrupting. I was just walk
No, you weren't.
I love how you just grab it. You just go,
Yeah.
come here. That's right, jeez. All right, well, all the best. We're going to close up.
Yeah.
All right, and we'll chat to you later.
Guys.
All right,
Thank
see you then. All right, how cool was
Yeah,
that, Ton? You are
that's awesome.
awesome. You're great. What are we looking at?
Oh, well, it's really easy when